Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over an updated forecast on those severe storms in the northern plains. We already have an enhanced risk on the day 3 outlook in parts of North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana. So we already have a few areas that we are watching for some potential severe weather. We're going to be going over all of that and more in today's video, so make sure you're staying tuned all the way until the end. And we're also going to be touching on a couple other things that are going on weather-wise today. Here's what the current National Weather Service page looks like. As you can see, we have some red flag warnings out through the west and even into parts of Wyoming as well. So just scattered generally throughout the western United States, we have some of those fire danger watches and warnings. We have flood watches and flood warnings in parts of Mississippi, Arkansas, Texas, and a little bit of Oklahoma as well, and that's what we're dealing with, a little bit of rainfall right now. We have heat advisories in parts of Minneapolis, also down through southern Texas, and then into areas surrounding Philadelphia and also into southeastern New England. So we have a couple different patches of those heat advisories, but none are over an extensive or wide area of the country. And then we even have a few more flood watches in northeastern Montana. Yesterday we had a high temperature in Rio Grande Village, Texas, where they got up to 115 degrees Fahrenheit, with a low temperature 12 miles northeast of Sand Creek Station, Oregon, where they got down to 22 degrees Fahrenheit, and that was tied with 24 miles southeast of Prairie City, Oregon, where they also recorded a low temperature of 22 degrees Fahrenheit. The highest, there were no snowfall reports yesterday, so we didn't have any snowfall to talk about. Here's what the day 1 outlook looks like. And you can see that we have for tomorrow, or for today actually, we have a slight risk in parts of the western Dakotas, eastern Montana, eastern Wyoming, and a little bit of western Nebraska as well. So we already do have a fairly decent risk for today of seeing some severe weather, especially as you get into the high plains. If we go to the day 2 outlook for Wednesday, not a lot going on. We just have a general thunderstorm risk over pretty much the entirety of the northern plains. And then if we look at the day 3 outlook, they did upgrade this to from a slight risk to now an enhanced risk in parts of the Dakotas and Montana. So you can see that area in that orange where we have that enhanced risk. That's where we're expecting the bulk of the severe weather. But even in areas that are in the yellow, green, or even the light green, could be dealing with a little bit of severe weather on Thursday. And again, I think, like I've been saying pretty much the entire week, I think Thursday is going to be the day where we reach the height of this severe weather event, when we really hit the pinnacle of this event. Here is the current drought monitor, because this is going to be really crucial to many of these areas. Many of the areas, if you look up in the northern plains, have not seen a lot of rain so far. They're actually nearing stage 3 or even stage 4 drought, which is the first time in quite a while that these areas have actually been in a stage 4 drought. They've been lingering in the stage 2 or 3 drought, but now parts of the Dakotas and North Dakota especially have that exceptional 4th stage of drought. So that's really not it doesn't really look too good, because we're not dealing with a lot of rainfall over these areas. Even as these thunderstorms come in, it's mainly going to be through these areas, so that's where the bulk of the rain will be. And even in those areas, it'll only be about half an inch to an inch of rainfall, which is not going to make up for almost 10 inches or more rainfall that you are below normal as of right now. In these areas, even though you don't think about it, in the northern plains, they're almost as dry as areas like Arizona, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, in the desert areas. So they're almost as dry as some of these areas in the desert southwest. So it's really not a good situation in those areas. Hopefully they can get a little bit of rainfall. Hopefully this does overperform in terms of rainfall, because that would definitely help out. We really do need rain within these areas. We're already reaching the top part of the scale in terms of the drought, so any more rainfall that you can get will definitely be good for those areas. Here's what the simulated radar looks like, and we can finally take out the NAM pretty much throughout the entire event. Here to be by later today, and you're already starting to see these storms starting to develop. So we see a few clusters of storms by later today. So this would be around 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, and you're dealing with these storms scattered throughout parts of the Dakotas, Wyoming, and Montana. Then as we go to right around this would be right around 9 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Central Time. We're dealing with some more of those storms starting to get a little bit more organized, especially into areas like North Dakota, Montana, also into South Dakota and Nebraska. So this is the area that we're dealing with most of these storms, and they are actually starting to get a little bit more organized. So we could have a few rounds of fairly heavy, severe weather, and again, this is going to help out the drought situation a little bit because we are going to probably deal with half an inch to an inch of rainfall. But unfortunately, areas that are further east, especially into this area right here, there's going to be a little bit of a hole of precipitation. So if you live in the eastern Dakotas, western Minnesota, northeastern Nebraska, you're not really going to see too much out of this entire event. So we're not expecting too much rainfall, unfortunately, in those areas. Most of it should be further to the west, unfortunately. So we're not going to be seeing this entire area get rainfall this time around. We're going to need to wait for another couple of events, and hopefully we can get a little bit more rainfall over the next few weeks in those areas. Here to be by, this would be around 12 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 a.m. Central Time, and you're dealing with these storms still in parts of the Dakotas and Nebraska, but they are starting to break up a little bit. It's just mainly steady rain for the most part by this point. We have a little bit of convective activity on the southern and northern ends of these storms, but again, it's nothing that's going to be too severe for tonight and tomorrow morning. Again, it looks like Thursday is going to be the day when we're going to hit the peak of the severe weather event. You can see the storms head out to the south and east, and they break up before they hit into areas in the Midwest, like the eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, again, Nebraska, Iowa. So these areas aren't going to be dealing with too much rainfall on Wednesday morning and tonight. So we're going to have to wait probably until Thursday when these areas might get a little chance of getting a little bit of rainfall. So let's go on to our next day of severe weather, and this would be for Wednesday. The only area that I think on Wednesday we'll actually be dealing with, or well, Wednesday night that I think we'll be dealing with severe weather is going to be in eastern North Dakota and northern Minnesota, as well as if you live in southern Ontario or southern Manitoba in Canada. Those are the areas that I think are going to be dealing with the severe weather on Wednesday night. It doesn't look like it's going to be too widespread. That's why they only have that general thunderstorm risk in those areas. So you can see we're getting a little bit of rainfall to start up in those areas, but again, this is going to be mostly a isolated and weak event. So this would be by around 6 p.m. Oh, this would be around 7 p.m. Central Time, and you're dealing with more of these storms still into parts of North Dakota, Minnesota, and into southern Canada. And then continuing this on, it does head to the south and east, but again, it's not too robust of a line of storms. This is mostly just going to be a moderate to, at times, heavy rainfall that could drop maybe around a quarter to half an inch of rainfall at the most, but it's not going to be a huge event. It's nothing definitely to worry about, especially for Wednesday. Wednesday is probably going to be the lowest day in terms of the severe weather, and you can see that continues to head to the south and east, but it should break up before it hits Lake Superior and before it heads into areas like Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan. So not a lot of rainfall associated with that event. It's going to be isolated to northern Minnesota and eastern North Dakota. Let's go to the next day, which would be for Thursday night into Friday morning. And again, this is when I think is we're going to be dealing with the most severe weather and the pinnacle of the severe weather. So you can see we have a few storms in through South Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana. So it is already starting to get started by 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central Time on a Thursday night. So then if we continue this on later into the evening, so around 9 or 10 o'clock, we're dealing with a few more storms into central South Dakota, but it's really not looking too severe by this point. It does start to strengthen, and this is when the eastern Dakotas, western Minnesota, northeastern Nebraska, this is when these areas will finally start to get a little bit of rainfall. So this might help alleviate some of the drought issues, but you will still definitely have some drought issues lingering on. One thunderstorm is definitely not going to be able to replenish the multiple inches of rain that you are below normal in terms of your average. So we still need a couple more events like this to actually get that drought issue resolved, but at least it is a step forward. We are going to be dealing with a little bit of rain into these areas. This would be by very early on Friday morning, so around 12 a.m., 1 a.m., and we're dealing with these storms. Then around 3 or 4 a.m., it does start to break off a little bit, but that's actually good because it's now kind of expanding both to the north and to the south, meaning that we're getting greater coverage of this rainfall, which means we have a greater area that's getting some of that rain that really needs the rain rain because of the drought. So we have, again, in parts of eastern North Dakota, eastern South Dakota, central Nebraska, and also into western Minnesota, finally getting their shot at some rainfall, and it is going to be fairly heavy at times. With this event, it looks like the maximum is going to be half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of rainfall on Thursday night into Friday morning. So it's not going to be a ton of rainfall, but again, it is definitely a good step in the right direction to alleviate the drought issues within these areas. And then you can see that area of rainfall continues to move to the south and east, and not many more issues after that. And again, if there is any more rainfall in this area, I will definitely at least make a community post on YouTube about it. So I will definitely post about it somewhere on my YouTube channel, because it is a big deal, especially for these areas that haven't seen a lot of rainfall anytime soon. So any rainfall you do get is going to be a fairly big deal over this area. Here is the amount of energy in the atmosphere, the CAPE, the convective available potential energy. It's a good way of measuring the instability, and basically the higher the number, the higher the chance and the more intense the severe weather will be. So you can see that especially in the western Dakotas and into western Nebraska, that's where for tonight, we have the highest chance of seeing that severe weather, and that's where we have the highest instability and CAPE. So that's a decent area and a decent chunk of the northern plains that is expecting those severe storms for today. And these are actually really high for this area of the country, 3,000 to 4,000 CAPE. Not really too typical of these areas, especially in the type of pattern that we're in. It's not too usual for these areas to be getting CAPE values up near 3,000 or 4,000, especially in early June. Typically, you're going to want to wait until July or August to actually see that start to ramp up in these areas. But nonetheless, they have a fairly decent amount of energy and instability in the atmosphere for tonight. If we look at for Wednesday or tomorrow, we're looking at most of that CAPE centered around the area that's going to be seeing the severe weather. So in northern Minnesota, eastern North Dakota, southern Manitoba, and southern and southwestern Ontario, that's where you're dealing with most of the CAPE being centered over that area for tomorrow. So that's the small little pocket of the northern plains that might have a little shot of getting a little bit of rain or even thunderstorm activity for tomorrow. And then if we look at for Thursday, you can definitely tell why we have that severe weather. We have a bunch of energy and instability flowing in from the south. We have warm southerly winds coming out of areas like Kansas, Oklahoma, and areas in the southern plains that have an abundance of moisture and instability and energy. That's all that area is just flowing further to the north, and over the next few hours on this frame, you would see this all this energy kind of just lift up further to the north. So by the time that these storms hit, we're going to be dealing with some areas getting up near 4,000 joules per kilogram in terms of CAPE. So that's really high, and that's definitely one of the reasons that Thursday might be the most prolific in terms of the amount of severe weather. If we look at the high temperatures, these are going to be really high in these areas. We're going to be dealing with sort of a semi heat wave in many of these areas, getting up into the upper 90s and even above 100 degrees in areas that you don't expect, especially this early in the month of June and this early in the summer time period. We normally are going to want to wait until later on in summer to actually get into the 100 degree mark in parts of the northern plains, but we're doing it a little bit early this year, and we already have temperatures that for today are getting up into the mid and upper 90s, but this is not even the warmest day of the week. If you look at Wednesday, you can see that we have high temperatures that are getting up into the mid and upper 90s, which is really warm compared to normal. We're about 15 to 25 degrees or even 30 degrees in some spots above normal for Wednesday. And then for Thursday, you can see why it's probably going to be the day with the most severe weather. It's also the day that we have the highest temperatures. So you can see through parts of eastern Montana, eastern Wyoming, eastern Colorado, parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, and North Dakota, and even a little bit of Minnesota, we have all the chances in those areas, in all those areas that I just mentioned, all have the chance of getting up above 97 or 98, even getting above 100 degrees. So these are really warm temperatures. You could even have a few temperatures approaching 101 or 102 degrees. So these are really warm compared with the higher dew points compared to normal. That'll definitely make it feel a lot more muggy and humid outside. So it's going to be uncomfortable to be outside, especially on Thursday, where we're going to have elevated dew points and temperatures. So you might want to stay indoors on Thursday and just kind of wait out until Friday. Friday looks nice. It'll be in the 70s, so much more comfortable. You'll have dew points in the 40s and 50s. So Friday looks like a very nice and pleasant day to be outside. So definitely a nice way to wrap up the week. If you look at the dew points for tonight, we have dew points that are getting up into the mid and the lower and mid 60s for the area that's expecting severe weather. As you get further to the east, we're getting into the 70s in some of those areas, so it's a little bit higher into the Midwest, the Great Lakes, parts of the Central Plains as well. But as you get into the Northern Plains, where we're dealing with the severe weather, it is a little bit lower, definitely above that 60-degree threshold, which is typically where you want to be in terms of severe weather. If we look at for tomorrow, we have dew points starting getting up above 60 over this entire area of the Northern Plains, even into the mid and upper 60s over some of these areas, and over that area that's expecting severe weather, we're all in the mid and upper 60s. So no worries in terms of dew points for tomorrow. And then for Thursday, the day that's going to be really, really warm, we're also combining that with high dew points. So it's not going to be too pleasant to be outside. We have dew points that are especially in areas like South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota getting up into the 70s. North Dakota and Montana catching a break into the 50s and low 60s. But still, even that is going to feel very, very oppressive in terms of the temperatures, because we have temperatures that are getting up into the triple digits. So even if you're up near the dew points into the mid 50s and upper 50s, still gonna feel really, really warm and muggy and not pleasant to be outside. So you might want to stay inside on Thursday, especially. Friday looks like a beautiful day though, getting into the 70s and 80s, but the dew points should be on the lower end of things. So it'll be a nice dry and mild day for Friday. So that is gonna wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.